So, is it all right now? Can you hear me better? Okay. That's a bit of a shock. Good evening, and welcome to the Climate Change Advisory Group. Before we start this evening, we have two members of staff that this meeting is their last meeting. Matt is moving on to pastures new, and Kat is going home. Yes, and both have been with us a very long time. Yeah, so thank you both very much for all that you've done for the council over those years, really seriously. And I wish you well back home. And we wish you all the best in your new job.
Thank
you. Apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair. Apologies from Shmeem Egbuta.
Thank you. Okay for me to sign the minutes of the 9th of July. Thank you. We've no matters arising, no references from other boards. And then we have a series of reports. The first one being the tree management and replace. Sorry. Yeah, you've got a question. Can you put your
It was on page 7. I'm not quite sure, and you'll have to forgive me if I had received it, but I didn't recall receiving the note back on the EPCs in the private sector. It said they would take it back and I'd get a written response. It was in the second to last paragraph on page 7. And if I have received it, my apologies, but I don't recall receiving the written. Thank you. And then there was just a slight mistake, I think, on page 8. I think what I asked for, so this is second paragraph down from the top. What I asked for was, would the council be looking to prepare 5 different types of homes for zero carbon emission standards? It wasn't that we would be looking to see what others were doing out in the world, in Luton, but really, so it's kind of mistaken in the way that it's been written, because my question was, would we be able to look, would the council be able to look at the possibility of bringing 5 different types of homes up to the standard of zero carbon emissions? Yes, okay, no problem. That's it. Yeah, sorry, thank you.
move on to the tree management and replacement strategy? Is that you, Steve?
It is, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm going to take the report as read, but I'll give you a quick introduction into it and then answer any questions, Chair, if that's okay. So the purpose of the report is set in the context of national, regional, local policy strategies and legislation, that the Luton Tree Policy and Tree Management Strategy provides a framework for sustainable management of Luton's trees to 2030, recognising that they all play a vital role in promoting healthy communities and helping to deliver air climate change and net zero commitments. It also sets out a strategic vision that an increasingly healthy, diverse, growing and resilient tree population that enhances the lives of all those living, working and visiting Luton now and for future generations, and includes the council's aims to ensure that tree-related decisions are made in a structured and consistent way and provide the rationale for how the council manages its tree stock. The purpose of the report is to consider how the Luton Tree Policy and Tree Management Strategy supports the climate change agenda. There are some recommendations with regard to the report, Hazel. It's to agree that the strategic vision and key objectives outlined in the tree policy and management strategy, and that was adopted by the council in April 2022, are sufficient to support the climate change agenda and delivery of Luton 24 targets. To agree that the Parks and Countryside Service continue to seek external funding to the council in order to deliver replacement tree planting and new planting programmes. and to agree that to strengthen the tree policy and management strategies ability to increase tree canopy through the addition of a specific local plan policy to ensure that any removal of healthy mature trees for any reason other than health and safety or health is the last resort. Happy to take any questions on the report, Chair.
Thank you very much, Steve. Are there any questions on the report? Stephen?
We please take note of not just Stockwood Park, tree collection in Stockwood Park, but could we be also aware that we need to do more to protect the trees in our ancient woodlands? So that's Kidney Wood and Brammingham Wood. And that's so as well as taking a note of the veteran tree collection of Stockwood Park, we need to take a note of our ancient woodlands, which is Kidney Wood and Brammingham Wood.
Yeah, obviously the actual policy and management strategy recognises all trees and protects all trees that the council own. The veteran trees are specific to Stockwood Park because they are designated as veteran. But the ancient trees, as you say, within our woodlands are all protected under the strategy and management policy as well. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask a second question, please, Chair?
Yeah.
Could I ask another question?
Yeah.
Please? Yeah, sorry. My next question, please, and it looks at, so we're looking at point 20 and 21 on page 16. It's obviously very sad to lose any trees, especially in the winds and the gales that we've had. I couldn't find anywhere in the report that indicated the number of trees that we've lost in our streets, as opposed to a general figure of the number of trees that we've lost. And my second point to that question is, what are we doing? I think I raised it with you earlier. What are we doing to actually replace the canopy in our roads, which are a critical point in a local area for carbon reduction?
Yep, the first question is we haven't broken that down by the type of tree. So whether it's in an open space or in a road situation, we could drill down into our arboricultural database to find that. I don't have that information with me now. If that's something that you would want, I'm quite happy to get our team to try and see if we can come up with those figures for you. With regard to tree replacements, as you see in the strategy and management policy, is that we do not have a budget for replacement trees. So we have to seek external funding. That external funding normally is specific to different types of tree planting. So currently you'll see we've got funding for micro woods and for orchards. We are relying on additional funds coming into the council through what we call our CAVIT value of trees. That's the capital asset valuation of trees. So where a tree is taken down through a development or something that's not as part of health and safety or health, then obviously that tree has a compensation to the council, and we then accrue a sum of money for replacement tree planting. That's when we can look at how we can best replace those trees. But the fact a tree was removed, it's not always possible to put a tree straight back in the same place, obviously, because obviously you've got the root system, and you also have to make sure that we create proper tree pits. So it's not always viable to put a tree directly back. So we do look at where is the most appropriate place, and sometimes that can be in the nearest piece of open space rather than trying to plant it in the exact location that it was lost, I'm afraid.
That doesn't quite answer my point about carbon reduction on a localized area. And it's very sad to see some roads, I can talk about Cutenhoe Road, were probably in storm damage. Probably about 6 of the trees over a period of time have been lost. That's quite a big impact on the possibility of localized carbon reduction in the area. And that's just one road. Somehow we need to be looking to find a budget, I would say, Chair, from somewhere where we can look at doing actual localized replacement for trees that have been lost through natural causes, obviously, but some of those could be diseased, I suppose, and are taken down, because we can't just have. It's great to see an extended canopy and little mini orchards being established, but that does not help the localized area. And it's something I think that we need to be looking specifically at, Chair.
I note you're asking us to agree for you to look for external funding. I'm assuming, would that include external funding to place trees wherever we can?
Wherever we can, yeah. I mean, at this point in time, there's not a lot of funding available to replace street trees. It tends to be more around creating woodlands. But if a specific funding opportunity was identified for replacement of street trees, then of course we would make an application if successful, would be able to do planting in replacement tree planting as the council suggests. But at this point in time, we do not have an internal, as you know, internal revenue budget for replacement trees.
Okay. Any other questions on the report? Are we happy to support? Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. And we now move on to the next item, which is the terms of reference. And you're doing a small presentation? Yeah.
So this is sort of following up from some discussions at the last meeting. So that was the first meeting with a new chair, and we've also had some new members of the board. So it was considered appropriate to look at our terms of reference. And I'm also going to be talking about the objectives, because the board is supposed to give itself new objectives every municipal year, and then about the role of board members specifically. So I've got the terms of reference on 2 slides. I thought it would be useful to just refresh them also for the benefits of our youth councillors. So the responsibility of the Climate Change Advisory Board is to provide strategic cross-party leadership on climate change for the council and ensure that there are benefits for local citizens, communities and economies. Oversee the development and delivery of a climate change strategy for Luton, ensure that climate change is embedded in corporate plans, local plan, investment plans, to be approved by executive where needed, and full council. So just my little comment to this. So our climate change strategy for the borough is the net zero roadmap. So the board have been instrumental in developing and approving it. And then this is sort of why we're having all this various strategies and officers coming to present, you know, about various aspects of carbon reduction. So the third point says about making recommendation to executive on the resource and capacity required to meet urgent climate change issues. So the board has not, has very rarely used that opportunity to make references, but just to bring it to the fore that this is indeed possible. Ensure that the council has a robust action plan and project at short, medium and long term. When agreed, continue to monitor and review the action plan. So this is what the board has been very active in doing. We've got at least 2 reviews a year of the action plan, and we'll be bringing the progress report on the action plan to the meeting in January. Point 5, ensure that data is available to set and monitor robust targets for when the council and the town can achieve net zero carbon. So this is where the board also draws on information from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, because Overview and Scrutiny Committee has a quarterly monitoring reports, and now the outcomes and KPIs have also been reviewed to include a wider look at net zero and indeed other 2040 objectives. So I think it may sort of warrant a note at some point in the future that we will not be sort of repeating the same items that discuss our overview and scrutiny. So the board was there to specifically lead on items that were not discussed elsewhere in this sort of holistic manner. So point 6 of the terms of reference ensure that there is an appropriate level of risk management for climate change when considered against all the other key priorities for council and balancing other priorities such as eradicating poverty. So again, my little comment here, I'm aware that the Audit and Governance Committee has been discussing risks, and there'll be a specific report on climate change risk going to a meeting in December. So we may just do a note and a bit of a cross-reference here. Champion climate change with key partners and organisations nationally, regionally, and at a local level with the community and businesses. So the way this has been done previously is that the chair of the board was also part of a local government association, East of England Climate Change Forum. And the forum has a long history of lobbying on behalf of the local council in the region. Point 7, or point 8, I think we're at, ensure that there is a strong engagement with the community, making sure that there is access to appropriate resource and materials to support education and culture change. So the way we were addressing this point previously, it was through some presentations from our colleagues from the communication team. Regularly about the campaigns that they'll be releasing and supporting. So I think we'll have a report on that soon. Consider whether and how Luton could become an exemplar and innovator for carbon reduction. So thank you, Councillor Stevens, for championing the show homes. And then the fifth, the 10th one, hear the voice of Luton youth councillors in developing recommendations to address the responsibilities of the advisory board. So that point had been added last year when we've incorporated youth councillors. So I don't know whether it's worth stopping there, whether there's any comments.
Any comments on those two sections from anybody? Yes.
Just a quick comment from me, and I wonder in objective 3 whether or not we need to explicitly reference transport, the local transport plan. It feels like transport is arguably the greatest emitter of CO2.
Yes.
And we've mentioned corporate plans and the local plan, but just.
Well, it's the local plan and local transport plan specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. Arlie, did you have your hand up? No. Anybody else? Any other questions from anybody? No, you carry on then.
Thank you. So in the terms of reference, the board is also supposed to set yourself some objectives, of working objectives for the year, and I've just given I've listed here the objectives that were set previously with with different membership of the board, just for the context. So from its inception as a subcommittee, because it was a task and finish group before, the board had the following objectives for year 22 and 23. So it set out the roadmap for carbon reduction, and this had been achieved. Set up a community forum of climate change as a form of engagement, of regular engagement. So we had a specific fairness task force in November 23, where we've widely discussed the airport, and there's been a number of work streams that was developed and followed since. And we continue to use the Fairness Task Force as a very useful vehicle to spread awareness and also take feedback from community champions and residents. And the board also said that it will be assigning lead members for specific portfolios of work, and I'm going to get to that towards the end of my presentation. So in the following year, the board wanted to focus on action planning, implementing support for schools and businesses and community organizations. And we were able to do that because of the allocation of specific funding. So it was the leveling up funding. Get the name. That's it. Yeah, shared prosperity funds. And our most successful program there was the Catch program for schools that had been highly acclaimed nationally, and we're working on the legacy of it. Facilitate community energy group that has been completed, and then improved data and monitoring, which has resulted in more sort of more environmental indicators within the 2040 outcomes. For last year, again, the board decided to carry on supporting the youth councillors, incorporating them as part of this group, supporting the climate action in schools, and board members also committed to undertaking the 8-hour carbon literacy training for elected members. We've had 4 councillors completed the training last municipal year, and I will sort of keep working on opportunities for that training to be available more widely. So we've got the next opportunity for that to happen on the 10th of November. And that's together with councillors from Central Bedfordshire. And so we'll be putting some information out about this. This is part of an international carbon literacy day.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so the organisation, the Carbon Literacy Trust, are encouraging all the councils and affiliated organisations to put as many training sessions on carbon during that week as possible. And I think that they're aiming for like a Guinness record.
Okay.
But it, you know, that's the sort of bit more frivolous element of it, but it the fact remains that is a much needed training, and we've now got about 130 officers and managers who have been trained, invested the 8 hours of their time, and I think it's another 2 dozens going through the accreditation process that we can't claim them in our numbers just yet, but we should be able to by November, and it's going through from at sort of managers and officer level. That training is going from strength to strength, and I'm hoping they will be able to get members, like at least 50% members trained. I am ambitious in my target, but we need everyone on board here. And then the last objective was working with the Inclusive Economy and Net Zero Board to record and accelerate system partners' contributions. So the chair of the group attended the Inclusive Economy meeting, so that carries on. So my the recommendations for this year's for members' discussion is to continue supporting climate action in schools, and this year it is very important because the Department for Education have set a deadline for schools to have climate action plans by the end of December 2025. We know that more than half of the schools in Luton have taken part in our training, have benefited from spread of cascading of information within the trusts, but we just want to push the remaining schools to have the climate action plans. To carry on work with the Inclusive Economy and Net Zero Board to work together with partners, and especially on the cross-cutting green economy objective that Sinead will be talking about a bit later. And then also champion the need for a fair transition, taking into account individuals and families. So this is very much come on the back of the Fairness Task Force that has stressed the need of looking at the residents that are in financial need, like how as a council will be supporting them on the journey. And then the review, if members considered to be the right objective, renew the commitment to undertaking the carbon literacy training and supporting the training among Luton community groups.
Okay,
I paused there.
and do you want this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's any comments on the objectives.
Yeah. Are there any comments on the objectives that you read out? Yes, Steve.
On the proposed objectives
Mhm.
for 25-26, presumably some of these might change if the airport expansion goes ahead, because there will be major implications surrounding carbon capture, carbon generation, NOx and SOx generation, and the effect it's having on local communities. So I presume that these objectives won't be set in stone, because if the expansion does go ahead, we will have to revisit on the basis of what we need to do or to renew to deal with any other problems that might arise.
You think that was possible?
Well, it's up to the board members to renew the objectives. So the terms of reference said that at least once a year, the board will set the
Will review the
objective.
terms
Will
of reference. Okay.
review the terms of reference and review the objectives. But if there is a need that arises during the municipal year, then the board could choose
Look at it
to,
again.
yes, yeah, add another objective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to make a suggestion as manager of the youth council, maybe to add elected members, but also youth members. I know we might not necessarily be able to do accredited carbon
Oh, I
literacy
see.
training,
Yeah.
but something on a smaller scale for all youth councillors, I think would be beneficial as well.
Our youth members, yes,
yeah, yeah.
very happy to take that on board, and my team will be more than happy to liaise on specific youth councillor training.
Absolutely. That's really good.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, do you want take the last one?
Yes. So my last slide is about the more point 10 and 11 of the term of reference, which is about board members taking a lead on key areas of work and activity, and the key areas that were identified when the board was first set up was of the 6 areas that follow, so which is liaising with external bodies, raising the profile of the council's approach, education and culture change, transport and planning, finance and risk, public health and climate resilience, and consultation and engagement with the wider community and businesses.
Okay, have we anybody allocated to those particular?
We haven't, no, Chair.
So we need to think about that then. Yes.
Mhm.
Maybe we could put that on the agenda for the next time. Yes,
Yes.
because we're all going to have to take one of those areas to focus on. Yeah. Perhaps we need a little bit.
Aspects of transport and planning. I mean, I've been on the cross-party view looking at the local transport 5. So we have been looking at various aspects of that already. So it's kind of already underway to a degree from the bit that I've been involved in.
Okay. Make a
So
note of that.
obviously you're interested in transport and planning then. Thank you very much, Stephen. We've got a name.
Yeah, I've got councillor.
We've got- Yes, Rumi.
Are we able to volunteer at this stage? Because I was thinking public health and climate resilience
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Okay. We'll bring it back.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, perhaps with a bit more background if that's
Yes,
how.
yeah, we'll do that. Then that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is everyone, I'm sorry, Alia.
Yeah. Sorry.
Then I'm happy to say education and culture change.
Okay, brilliant. Okay.
Also, if possible, would it be able to, do we take 1 or 2 responsibilities?
You can take two if you
I
like.
think given my personal experience of working with in external affairs, maybe liaising with external bodies and raising profile for the council's approach, maybe I could take lead on that as well.
Number one then.
Number
Yeah,
one, yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. And we're all happy with the terms of ref. Okay. Right, we now move on to economic growth strategy. Over to you, Sinead.
I think everyone knows me, but just in case, I'm Sinead McNamara. I'm the Director of Inclusive Economy here at the council. So forgive me, some of our councillors will have already seen some of these slides and presentation as we've been talking about our new economic growth strategy for some time. But hopefully this is useful in the context of how it ties in with the work we're doing on climate change. So in terms of our economic growth strategy, this is our long-term framework for how we're going to deliver inclusive economic growth across Luton. As I said, we've been doing it for some time, very much around co-design and co-production with our key partners and stakeholders, including the community. Our economic growth strategy is broken down into three parts. So what was really important at the beginning is to have a really strong evidence base. So we really understand what it is that we're trying to change, but also that we've got figures that we can use in terms of measuring our progress over the 7 years of the strategy life. The second part is our strategy document. So that sets out the vision, the priorities, and our strategic direction. And then, of course, the final part is our implementation plan. So that sets out clear actions, timelines, and the accountability. And just to say, this isn't just something that the council are responsible for. This has been done in partnership with a number of system partners across Luton and beyond. So in terms of, we are ideally placed to support growth. And when I say that, I mean we are in the right place to deliver the government's new industrial strategy. Luton is delivering 7 of the 8 key growth sectors, which is really important in terms of growth. We know that we have a £5 billion investment pipeline and a number of developments already underway over the next 10 to 15 years. We've got one of the fastest growing airports, our proximity to London. We're at the heart of the Oxford-Cambridge artwork, and hopefully everyone will have seen that work is now back underway. So it paused a little bit, but it's now been led through a new supercluster board, and Luton and Luton Rising are playing a key role in that. We've got strong or excellent transport links with our airport, our road connections, our 2 train stations, etc. So lots of real opportunity around connectivity. We're one of the youngest towns in the UK, and we are one of the most young and diverse talent pools in terms of that reach across the UK. We're a super diverse and vibrant community with real global perspectives. So again, a real opportunity for employers across the town, and a real opportunity for our young people as they're looking at what career they want to take going forward. I've briefly talked around our sector strengths. So here we have a really strong advanced manufacturing. We're really strong aviation, really strong around the creative industries and engineering, and some of our key growth sectors are around the green economy. We're also looking at how we can grow our professional services as well as growing the sectors we already have around hospitality, and some of that's coming through around our visitor economy. And as I say, this really aligns with the government's new industrial strategy. So hopefully you can see this. This sets out how our new economic growth strategy delivers against Luton 2040. So the 5 priorities are down the left-hand side. And I'm not going to go into all of these in a lot of detail, and happy to share the slides. But what's really been clear is that our economic growth strategy isn't just delivering a new inclusive economy. It touches all the other 4 priorities as well, which is really important. The cross-cutting theme for us is how we have a fair transition to a green economy, which is why it's really important to this group tonight around how we make sure that we're delivering our 3 missions, which is a productive, inclusive and resilient economy, and how that all transitions into a fairer and green economy for Luton. So I talked as well already about our core growth sectors and our opportunity growth sectors. And actually the one I missed out was healthcare and sports. So with the work that we're doing with the football club and their new stadium, and the excellent work the university are doing, and how the hospital will now have a new diagnostic centre being built in the university, where we'll be able to see more patients, outpatients using our facilities in the town centre, really changes our offer around healthcare. So lots of really exciting work happening with our partners in that space. So these are the strategy action areas. So there are 15. And as I say, more than happy to share the slides, and I can share a link to the economic growth strategy for anyone that wants to go through it in a little bit more detail, and happy to spend some time with people if they'd like to better understand the work we're doing. In terms of what do we see as the impact by 2032? So we're not going to read these out, and I'll let people take them in their own leisure, but it is very much around the role that Luton plays in that regional economy, particularly around the work of our airport expansions. We talk about aviation, high tech, engineering, and the manufacturing industries. We want to be a fair town where our residents really feel the benefit. So it's really important here that the economic growth piece is very much around inclusive economic growth. So it's not just about how we support our businesses. Our residents need to feel the benefits of the economic growth. If we don't do that right, we haven't delivered an inclusive economic growth strategy. So our residents absolutely sit at the centre of this. All the opportunities have got to be for our residents and the growth of our businesses. We want to improve our productivity. So at a national level, productivity has declined, but all the work that we're doing through the government's industrial strategy, and this is all around how do we develop and create highly productive sectors across Luton. So again, that's going to have a big focus around the green economy, innovation and technology. And we want to be one of the most attractive places to continue to see Luton grow. So how do we attract new businesses to Luton? We want to make sure that our small and medium businesses are growing, but we also want to attract new businesses. So we really need to make sure that our offer is right for those businesses. And then finally, and really important, is that Luton will be a place for our young people where they can stay and prosper. That's a really key part of our strategy. And these are some of the strategic targets we're working to. So I talked about productivity. If we get our strategy right, we will see an increase of 500 million in GVA each year. We want to attract at least 1 or 2 big organisations to Luton. Sadly, we lost Vauxhall Stellantis this year, so it's key for us to at least try and have another couple of blue chip companies in Luton. What else would be quite interesting for people today? Let's talk about the green economies. We want to have an increase in 2,000 jobs over the next 7 years that are very much focused on the green economy. And overall, we want to create 23,000 new jobs. So there's lots of ambitious targets there. And how we are going to do that is through our implementation plan. So there are a number of actions in the implementation plan, but what I've pulled out are the actions that sit under the green economy and what I'm hoping this group will support in the delivery. We want to do more work around how we continue to broker academic and industry partnerships and explore the potential for delivering specialist business program support. So we have already done some really good work in this space that we funded through UKSBF and other programs here. We want to see how we can continue to do that and how we support our local businesses into a better place. We need to undertake a study to explore alternative funding and financial mechanisms to accelerate the energy efficiency status retrofit investment into Luton's businesses. And this could include looking at business rate reliefs or loan schemes to unlock investment. But as I say, that will come out as part of the study. We need to establish a Luton Green Skills Group. So that will be with our key employers and our knowledge providers and how we better develop that pipeline and pathway opportunity around green skills. We want to hold a net zero knowledge transfer workshop programme. We need to continue to support Luton businesses to reskill and upskill their employees, very much focused on how they develop around green skills. And then we want to continue to identify funding streams on how we can deliver green finance tools. So they're the key actions for us in the implementation plan. But as I said at the beginning, the climate change piece and developing to a green economy sits across all of this work. So when you look at the implementation plan in a lot more detail, you'll see that there's actions across there for this work. So it's not just the bullet points here. We want to see how we move to a green and fair economy throughout the whole delivery of the economic growth strategy. So that's a whistle-stop tour, but I'm happy to take questions and I'm happy to spend a bit more time with anyone who is really interested in doing a deeper dive into this piece of work.
Thank you, Sinead. Are there any questions? Yes, Stephen.
Obviously, there's a lot of possibilities looking forward at the moment. There are things we're not very good at doing in Luton. And one of those is working with our university partners to try to bring about spin-off companies. Other parts of the UK are very good at co-working with universities to try and get start-up companies based on research that's taking place at the university in the particular city or town. That's the first thing. Secondly, yes, we do need to encourage our young people to stay. My own two sons very quickly moved out of Luton because there were no opportunities after they had completed their university and master's degrees. And they're not atypical. So we need to have the kind of jobs that's going to encourage them to stay. And that means trying to look for the right kind of investments. We also perhaps ought to be looking at taking part in things like the Department of Trade and Industry overseas groups that go over to different parts of the world to try and sell Luton and to try and bring investment into the country. And we have a very diverse community within Luton, and there are lots of links within our communities that we should try to enhance and to try to use for the prospect of bringing in investment going forward. So I think those are two key areas. One of the other things that we need to be totally committed to is not building a more white elephant type warehouses. We do not need more warehouses in Luton. We have that large carbuncle, which is actually sitting on the entrance to Luton on the junction 910, whatever. Nothing's happened to it. And even if we do get jobs going in there, it will be a handful because modern day warehouses do not need a lot of manpower or staffing. So on any of the sites that we're now building, whether it's the Vauxhall site or whether it's Osborne Road site or other sites, it needs to be the kind of jobs that we attract that's going to be available to our young people. And it's, and we need to be doing more, as I say, looking at partnering with the university, looking at attracting other companies going in that we can see will build up the kind of jobs. If we can, working with the apprenticeship system, that's going to be great. And we can look at doing that with a pathway from school to high school to college to university. But at the end of it, there needs to be a job for our young people. And it needs to be of a high value salary level. That's going to keep our young people in the town going forward. So I think those are key things that I see are big challenges going forward. A lot of what you've shown, Sinead, is very good, but it doesn't get to the heart of some of the things that we need to be looking at going forward.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. And we're on the same page on this. It's all there. We've got all the ingredients. might be the right term to use. It's about how we make sure that we actually deliver against the implementation plan, which is why the evidence base is really important. So we can get under the skin of what's the current position and how do we make the changes, and picking up the specific points. So Luton has been in the top 5, top 10 business startup programs across the country for a number of years. So we are actually very good at that, but that doesn't mean there isn't opportunity to do more. You know, this week is Enterprise Week, and that's going incredibly well. Day 2, we are seeing a number of hugely successful entrepreneurs. So we opened yesterday's program with 6 entrepreneurs from Luton, all talking about how well their programs are doing, their turnover, and they were super inspirational. So we will share those videos so people across the town who couldn't join us yesterday can see that. So as a town, we are very good at progressing our entrepreneurs, but there's always more we can do. And that's one of the key actions with the university and something they're keen to support us on. Absolutely agree about the opportunities for young people. I think some of the problem we have is that they don't know about the great opportunities. So we need to do better at telling them what's here, what can you do? Whereas some of them don't realise they're there. So we need to do a better piece of work with our schools around how do they know what jobs are coming forward. Some of the work we've been doing is around how do we develop those highly productive growth sectors. So they are the jobs that pay well. So they're highly skilled and well paid. And we need to make sure that they are being delivered locally for our young people. So it's not other people travelling in for those jobs, it's our local people doing those jobs. So how do we make sure, as I say, this is completely inclusive, that our residents feel the benefits of the work we're doing? And the other point that you said around how do we promote Luton out to other places? So some of the work that's happening through the Oxcam Supercluster is the Department for Business and Trade are taking out the opportunities internationally. So that's been led by Lord Valence on behalf of the region. So some of that work is happening, but absolutely there's more we can continue to do. And then the final part around the logistics piece, we absolutely hear you, and we are working really closely with those developers to make sure that they aren't just warehouses. So the one at Junction 10, it should be a HQ. It's big enough to be a new company coming in, which has all of their professional services in there. So it has HR, finance. You will see some robots going in there, and you will see some of that traditional logistics, but it will also have all of those professional services there. So it's not just going to be a handful of jobs, and that's what we want to see. We're really keen to make sure that the former Vauxhall site is a mixed use development in the sense of it's got other commercial uses outside of just warehousing, and they're coming to present to members, I think this Friday. So there's an opportunity to hear a bit more about what they're going to put in their outline planning application. They're doing a public consultation next Wednesday at the Dart. So again, an opportunity. They've been a really good partner. We think they're listening to what we need and want in the town. And we've been very clear from the beginning, we don't just want warehousing on there. We want good quality jobs. We want to attract companies into Luton. We know that Luton is a great place to do business, and our businesses tell us that. So I think there's more opportunity to do that. But I would encourage everyone to go and for the public consultation on the Goodman site and let them hear your views directly as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sinead.
can I come back on that? Don't underestimate the opportunity for having using the links of the people that we have within our community to try and bring investment. I mean, I could take it as an example. I mean, I spent many years traveling the world on behalf of the university, bringing students in, but that was only one part of it. The other was actually setting up overseas collaborations, which was very successfully done, and got us the Queen's Award for Industry at that time. So don't overlook the fact that we have people within the community that we can use to try and bring in investments and to try and bring in opportunities of collaboration between Luton and different parts of the world. And the second thing I want to say is, it's a caveat. We need to try to get the startups to work, but one of the biggest difficulties across Britain is how do you move from being a startup to a company that grows? And we need to find a ways of looking at funding opportunities for our startup companies within Luton so that they can go to the next stage of becoming bigger, employing more staff. Because that is one of the difficulties that startups always face within the UK.
You want to go back? Yeah.
Absolutely, on the scaling up aspect, and that's one of our key actions in our implementation plan. So we are looking at some of our funding, about how we can support scale ups, some of the work that we do around our anchors and how we support the supply chain. So how do we make sure that we're supporting those micro businesses where we're buying goods and services locally and making sure that we're keeping that pound in Luton. So there are a number of other things we need to look at around how do we continue to support our small businesses to grow here. So totally agree with you on that. And it's one of our key actions and work's underway on that.
Our result, 57% of our new businesses and micro businesses grow over a 3-year period, much more than the national statistics. So they're doing well. We're doing well. But I agree, always do more, can't you? Always. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Sinead? Yes, Tom.
One of the best ways to attract new businesses, the type of businesses Councillor Stevens was talking about, is your infrastructure energy. And Luton suffers badly because of its infrastructure energy. It's very old. There's not enough of it. If you want to attract data centres and the high value jobs into the town, which we'd all love to do, we've got to find a way to improve the infrastructure on the energy side. And all the way through your plan, lots of words about it, but I can't see absolutely anything about how we improve the infrastructure energy. If you go to Junction 10, what you just talked about, apart from the few solar panel up there, there's absolutely nothing else. And that was an opportunity to put gas turbines in and a lot of other stuff. So what are we actually doing? Have we opened negotiations with the different power suppliers or green partners, what are out in the town at the moment, to actually look at the way we can improve the infrastructure and our infrastructure, energy infrastructure? You look at Power Core, they haven't laid a thing yet, but it's cost them £5.5 million to build a new substation to move it. But that £5.5 million is some of that could have been spent on a gas turbine down there, what could feed Power Core and some of the properties around it. But I don't believe the partnership is there on green energy, because without that partnership, forget all your data centres and that kind of stuff. They're very, very heavy users of all the power, very heavy. And there's nothing in Luton, unless you're going to tell me different from what we looked at 2 years ago, what doesn't need upgrading an awful large cost to actually be able to put those data centres in.
I can stuff give a response to that. So we have developed a really good working relationship with the DSO, which is the distribution systems operator, which is UK Power Network. So I've been to a number of meetings with them, and they have over the last couple of years, they have improved immensely on the amount of data that they're making available to us, and we're feeding this data into the local plan process. So through the local plan development process, so as you are aware, the local plan is at the stage of evidence gathering and evidence-based development. So this new data is being fed into that process, and we are in the process of developing a green infrastructure study as well as a climate change study. So the renewable energy opportunities and demand to support new housing development as well as industry development will be fed through that local plan process.
in someone else that did. Oxford University did their green plan and they could tell you the energy usage in every street, every cable, everywhere right across Oxford. So when companies came along, and it's for sale on the open market, when companies come along, they pay, fair enough, they don't pay Oxford Council, they pay Oxford University. And that information is at people's fingertips. So when planners come along, and someone comes along with a planning application, they can just download that. The council can download it now and say, you will need to build a substation, or you will need to find a way to generate electricity. If we're serious about upgrading the job, I mean, the airport's a perfect example. They're going to build a solar panel farm that won't give them all the needs for all the airport. It's just ridiculous when there's so many other options available now. So why can't we just buy the Oxford one and get the same survey done of Luton? So when a new business comes along, we can say to them, if you want to go to the old Vauxhall site, we've only got 10, 15 megawatts available down there. But if you invest in 2 gas turbines, that can be taken up to 25 megawatts. You know, the information's there, but we just don't want to pay for it. I can't work out why.
Do you want to come back on that?
I can come back to an extent. So some of that information will be available through the local plan process. But yeah, as you said, the next part of the puzzle is then identifying funding for that investment to take it to the level of detail that you're talking about.
Like Warrington, Sinead, have already got all that information. They're going out, they're investing in renewable energy. The rubbish we're being told by some people, one of Warrington's solar panel farms is down in this part of the country. But the reason they've done that is so they can attract businesses. They're saying we can provide you the energy, because if you read the Department of Trade's report from last year, the biggest cost of stopping companies moving is the energy costs, and they're providing cheap electricity. So you say a perfect example would have been at the airport to attract new companies up there. Why didn't we make that solar panel farm bigger? Or look at the alternatives what are available on the market now.
We'll pick those points up, Councillor Shaw, and come back to you, because they're all really, really helpful in terms of how we progress at pace, because maybe it's not. Yeah. Just on the data centre point, I guess because we don't have lots of land for development, because most of our sites have already been developed, data centres don't come with lots of staff. So we possibly would be hesitant to some of the data centre opportunity potentially. We'd need to do more work on it, because you're right, it sucks all of the energy across the town. It needs a lot of energy to support it, but it doesn't come with lots of jobs. And jobs is a really important thing for us around how do we make sure our local people have jobs. So it's a big thing at the moment, but for Luton, because we don't have lots of sites available, a data centre would be something we would have to really look at very hard.
You say, but it's one of our problems, and what we've just said is that we will look at something like the Oxford system. But it just surprises me where 10 years, 5 years ago, they put that out on the open market, Oxford University, and you could go outside and they'll tell you the energy use on the cable outside this building. And they've got all that recorded, and you could sell that to the developers.
So that'll come out in the local plan development, is what you're saying?
Yes, there's some gaps in the.
Yeah, some of it started, but yeah. Okay. Anybody else? No other questions? Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Sinead. Don't know whether anybody wants the slides. If you do, let us know and we can send them out, yeah? Okay, we now move on to the air quality annual status report.
Good evening, councillors. If I may, I'll take the report as read.
Yeah.
I'll give a brief introduction and then answer any questions you might have. I'm aware that it's quite a short report covering quite a long and detailed technical document, so there may be some questions. Local authorities have a legal duty to regularly assess air quality in their administrative areas. This duty also requires that local authorities prepare and submit an air quality annual status report to DEFRA each summer, detailing monitoring results and air quality works ongoing during the previous year. This report is appraised by DEFRA and its consultants before being either accepted or rejected on the basis of that appraisal. Discharging our reporting responsibilities for this year, the required report was submitted to DEFRA and subsequently accepted following its appraisal. The report summarises the 2024 monitoring data and it shows a continuation of the reduced pollution levels that we've seen in the town post-COVID. And it also reinforces the case for proceeding with our current air quality priorities, which were discussed at the board this time last year. So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions on the report at all.
Thank you very much. Any particular questions on the air quality report? Yes, Tom.
I think it's brilliant that I think it's our third year now, is it? Or fourth year? Well, we've had nothing breaking the 40. And each year we get the Euro 6, more Euro 6 buses on the road and on the busway that can just go down and down and down. But the council should be congratulated for going now 3 or 4 years, not breaking the barrier once. And I think that's just a brilliant result for the town.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? Yes.
For anything in the,
Sorry?
for anywhere in the report.
Yes, I think that's what the gentleman said. Yeah.
Can I just, you have to forgive me, it's actually quite a technical paper and it's not my background. What is the difference between the LN and the L? So you've got LN, what's it? Anyone, LN 96, for example, and then an L13. So what's the difference between the LN and the L? If you look, for example, on page 149 at the map, you've got some majority of those are on there are LN, and then there's 2 or 3 which are just L14, L13, L12.
Yeah, it's actually quite a prosaic answer, councillor. There are 3 different tube programmes in operation in the borough. One we operate ourselves as the local authority, and then Luton Rising have their own tubes, and then the airport operator have their own tubes as well. And we all use a slightly different nomenclature for them. So the LN tubes belong to us. The L tubes belong to Luton Rising and are put out by Arup for them. And then I think they're LNA maybe, or LA, I think the other one is, and that's the airport operator. So all it refers to are who pays for those tubes and puts them up. They're actually all bought from the same supplier and all prepared the same way, but it's just a different person pays for them and a different person physically picks them up each month.
Can I understand that the L, say the L13, L12, L14, are they primarily monitoring nitrogen oxide?
Yes, all of the L tube, all of the diffusion tubes are nitrogen dioxide. That's all they're used for.
Can I ask why across that area where those are located, L13, L12, there is no monitoring for particulates? Because those areas are directly under the flight path. And I've spoken to residents at the top end around Ludgrove Avenue who talk about the fact that they are regularly getting sediment or whatever coming on top of the cars and on top of the buildings. So why are we not monitoring for the health of the population, the residents in that particular area, not just for particulates, but also for other others than the nitrogen oxide.
The issue with particulate matter is it's slightly more difficult to get enhanced geographical coverage for particulate matter. With nitrogen dioxide, you can use passive means, so you can use diffusion tubes, which are relatively inexpensive. You're looking about £3-4 each tube per month per site. You can't measure particulate using a passive measure. You have to use either a sensor system, which aren't actually approved for compliance monitoring, or you have to have a reference equivalent technique. And those are the really expensive bits of kit, like the one that we've got on Stewart Street, where you're talking tens of thousands of pounds. So that limits the scope to deploy these things. Now, also it's worth bearing in mind that particulate matter is more of a regional effect, whereas NOx, nitrogen dioxide, is a far more localized pollutant, so you get hot spots of NOx, whereas with particulate matter, a level in any one location tends to be representative of within definitely hundreds of meters of that site, if not maybe kilometers of the site. So it tends to vary less. So you can have a lower density of particulate matter monitors, and it still tells you what you need to know. It's probably worth just noting that I don't know whether that they're going to put something in exactly the location you're talking about, but as part of green managed growth, should the airport expansion go ahead, they are going to put in, I think it's 15 sensor-based systems that will be capable of measuring particulate matter as part of the works there, as well as I think they're looking to get additional reference equivalent equipment as well. So there is a potential that more will be done on particulate about the airport, but at the moment it's not being done because of the difficulties of doing particulate measurements.
So to answer that question, many of the residents around that area, so here you're talking about South Ward, have been complaining for years about quality of the air quality and what it's doing. There are a number of schools in the area, and there's a fear that it's actually damaging the health of people. And when you look at that particular area compared to a lot of parts of the town, there are huge numbers of monitors in place. Whereas when you take that particular area in South Ward, the planes are flying very low indeed, across houses, probably right away from West Hill down Cutenhoe Road and other roads nearby. So for years, we as a council have been ignoring really the health of those residents. And what you're talking about, why the airport's going to put those in, because they will be increasing tremendously the number of flights that are coming in. And that was and they were only willing to do that because obviously that was one of the recommendations that came through the planning inspectorate. So it doesn't really, it really doesn't put the council in a very good light. When I look at that map and I see what's happening around the town, and I look at the number of air quality monitors that are in that particular area, we have done a disservice. And probably if I look at parts of the East Ward, it would be the same thing.
I think that the issue came up, I think, was it this time last year with NOx monitoring in the same location. I think when I looked at the data for the NOx site we had, it was actually relatively low levels. I think it was at the 11th lowest that we had in that particular location, which indicated that for NOx, it wasn't necessarily one of the more polluted locations. It's difficult for me to comment on particulate levels specifically without actually undertaking measurement there. However, historically, Luton's never had an issue with PM10s, either measured or monitored, and the levels of PM2.5 that we recorded this year were the lowest that we've recorded so far. Obviously, we do have PM 2.5s and PM 10s measured actually at the airport site and at Wigmore, but I accept not over in this particular location we're referring to now.
Find that very difficult to believe. Not disputing what you're saying, but I find it very difficult to believe, taking into account the low levels that those planes are coming in across West Hill, Memorial Park, down across Cutenhoe Road, down across Park Street. I cannot believe that the air quality that you talk about, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, that I cannot believe that those levels are low. It's impossible for that to be the case. And for the particulates, yes, I know that it spreads over a wide range, but these are specifically coming over at low level across the houses. And I'm really shocked that we have not had any particulate monitoring that's gone on. And I come back and I say again, the council has let down the residents around South Ward, around parts of Vauxhall Ward and the East Wards.
Just as a point of clarification, Councillor, we don't actually measure for sulfur dioxide. The airport does, Luton Rising does, because they chose to have a complete suite at their Wigmore site. But under the local air quality management regime, there's no longer a requirement for local authorities to measure sulfur dioxide unless we have a pressing reason to. For instance, a coal-fired power station in the middle of town. We wouldn't expect to have an issue with sulfur dioxide, what with current combustion practices, so we don't measure for it.
Are there any other questions on the air quality management report? We have to, I think we're asking to note it, aren't we? Oh, Tom, did you have your hand up? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just surprised at Councillor Stevens, the comments he's made, trying to scare people, because the council's done so well on its air quality management that the government has actually turned around and said, you don't need to do it anymore because you've got clean bill of health. So for you to turn around and try and scare pupils in the schools in South and everywhere else on air quality really surprises me, because it's the reports in front of you, and so you can't deny everything what's in that report. That report is a good report, shows it. Your particulates, I can see your point, but on the air quality which we measure, this town has done absolutely brilliant. And I'm surprised you don't acknowledge that. You don't acknowledge it at all.
The three management scheme, the three management, but that's across a wide area. It doesn't take into account specifically the area that I'm talking about.
But you've
As far as
got carbon monitors in those areas, but we get good results of.
well, it only shows three monitors, and none of those are at the top end, or really, if you like, coming across West Hill, down Cutenhoe Road, down to Park Street, and across that area. And if I look at the East Wards, where planes are taking off to the east quite often and landing in the east, it's a similar picture.
Yeah.
I think they have some. Yes, I think they have some nitrogen dioxide
Down at the bottom of Coombe
sites
Road.
there.
The airport has some down there. Further down. You can see them on the lamppost yourself when you're spending so much time walking around your ward.
Anybody else? Okay, we're invited to note the contents and conclusions. So I would ask us to do that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. The final report is the climate change advisory work for the next few months. Yeah. So unless they've got any questions on that, I'll just ask people to note it. Yeah.
Don't. We've had a few items proposed in the meantime.
Yes, okay. Do you want to report them? Yeah.
If I report them, Chair. So the net zero action plan, so we'll be actually coming with the progress report for the annual progress report. We've had a proposal to bring in a report of fleet decarbonisation, which we think may be relevant to this board with your approval. And we'll then bring, as discussed earlier in the meeting, we'll bring the confirmation of the roles and responsibilities and the terms of reference for formal approval to the January meeting. And then we've got a report proposed on co-benefits between health and environmental health and environmental and economic aspects of our action plan. So this will be our sort of fair transition report, and that we're proposing to bring in.
Okay. And that'll be there for January.
Yes, full agenda.
Okay. Everybody clear on that? Yeah. Okay. Right. The next meeting's not until the 28th of January. So we will look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you.